Are you happy? This is a slogan that I found the other day, and it said, if you are happy, the answer is yes, well then keep doing what you're doing. The question comes as to, are you happy? And if the answer is no, well then are you willing to try something else, maybe something different? Now, if the answer is no, you don't want to try something else, well then just keep doing what you're doing. But if the question is, are you happy, and you're not, and you're willing to try something new or something else, well then there's a change that's needed. So what is that change? Now, I'm going to relay a situation or experience that I had to you. You see, when I was 2 years old, I was in a little country called India. And back then I was told that I would be stuck in a cupboard, locked away forever. And that gave me the problem of stuttering. I developed a speech impediment, which caused me to stutter for some time of my life. And then I came to Australia. And in Australia, I had to go to preschool with no English and a stuttering or a speech impediment. So it was very hard for me. One thing that I loved about my father, you see, was that he was able to be a great orator. He was able to give presentations and speak, and I always admired him for that. And at high school, that was a very bad drawing of a school, by the way, I always loved speaking. But I just don't think I had what it took, because I used to be a stutterer and I didn't want to. So by the second year I was in high school, I applied for the plain English speaking competition and didn't get in. And the next year, nobody else applied, and I got in, obviously. So I had no speech, but I had this absolute love to give a presentation and a speak, and the only reason why I got in was because nobody else applied. So my teacher, Mrs. Batchen, over there up the top and me down the bottom, was hounding me to write a speech, but I kept putting it off. And then Mrs. Batchen finally got to my friends and told them to come to me to tell me to write a speech, and I kept delaying it because I was too scared to put pen to paper and actually write something. And the day came. The day came when I actually had to go and present. And we were in Strathfield Girls, and we had to walk to Homebush Bay. So my friends, my 3 or 4 cheerleading friends, came with me with my teacher. And I had to go to the school and give my talk. Finally, the day had come. So we walked into the school hall, and there were seats there, and the stage was straight ahead of us. And my teacher and I sat at the very back. So that was my teacher, and that's me sitting next to her. And a paper came around, and I saw that on my name was on number 5 to give a presentation. So I thought I could buy time. I could actually buy time to go and write a speech until my turn came. So I asked my teacher if I could go to the toilet, but she just told me not to be late. So I went to the toilet to go and write a speech. And this is a true story. I actually went to the ladies to go and buy some time to write my speech that I was supposed to write, but too scared to. So here I was in the cubicle, pacing up and down, talking to myself about what I should say, how I should say it, what topic should I pick. And so finally, it was about 5 to 10 minutes had passed, and I finally got out of the toilet, hoping that my turn had maybe come and gone, and that maybe I wouldn't have to give a speech. But I knew I would have to, they'd wait for me. So there I was, walking back to the auditorium or the school hall, and I found my teacher, and I went and sat back next to her. As soon as I sat down, and this is truth, as soon as I sat down, they called my name to get up and speak. And I slowly walked up my way to the stage, and I felt every step, the rubber beneath my foot, the wood beneath the rubber of the soles of my shoe, till I got to the stage. And once I got to the stage, I did the best thing that I knew how, as I took a deep breath in and faced the crowd and the fear that haunted me. And as I took a big breath and exhaled really hard, I gave my presentation, and I paced up and down a little bit to give myself some work to do, and I used my gestures, and I finally gave my speech. Everyone was gracious enough and polite enough to give me a clap. Then I came back and sat next to my teacher, and I said to her, "Miss, I did prepare a speech." And she said, "I know." I said, "Well, why didn't you tell me? I would have made a fool of myself." And the conversation didn't really finish because the next speaker had to come up and speak. But it wasn't until that afternoon that my teacher and I were invited to an afternoon tea for all the speakers and teachers, that we were sipping our orange juice and biscuit, when someone came up to me and told me that I did a great presentation. And I thought to myself, I did a great presentation? I gave a great speech? I couldn't believe it. But what I took away from that was I love to speak. I wasn't good at it, but I knew I would wanting to do something like that. So now, are you happy? As blurry as that might be for you. If you're yes, well then keep doing what you're doing. Are you happy in your work? Are you happy in what you're doing? Then keep doing it. But if the answer is no, you're not happy with what you're doing, whether it's in work, and if it's not right for you, then are you at all wanting to try something different? And if the answer is no, well then you keep doing what you're doing. But if there's something that you want to make a change for, and what I came across was that if there is a difference that you want to make, if not, well then you just keep doing what you've done and you get the same result. But if there is, then that creates a change, and that change is what makes a slight bit of happiness. Yes, there was pain, because I had no idea. Once upon a time I was a stutterer, and I didn't have the confidence to get up and speak. But the fact that some God-given journey, that my teacher believed in me, who had the patience in me to let me not have a speech prepared, to let me just make it up as I went, that gave me some confidence. And by giving me that difference, and no one else having applied to even compete against me at school, and me getting to regionals, it was the change that allowed me to be happy. And how did that make me happy? Well, it didn't make me happy at the time, but it gave me a chance to feel that I was going to find something in public speaking that I could use for my work when I finished school. So my profession could include public speaking, something that I would never have attempted if I wasn't unhappy enough and I didn't actually want to make a difference for myself. So the change that came around for me wasn't that fact that I was more bold to make a public presentation at high school or anything, but no, I joined Toastmasters, I joined National Speakers Association, I became a trainer in my career. I began going into learning and development, which is all about public speaking. And most importantly, the stutterer that was fearful of public speaking now was using public speaking for a living. So the art of speaking was now something that I was doing for a living. So what change could come from you, and what could you change for yourself? You see, I believe that what I did for myself, professional training in public speaking, that's what came for me, for taking a great big risk, which is what it was at the time. But whatever change you imagine for yourself, if you're not going along the way on the journey, or the speed or the length of time that you want to be on your journey, what's something different that you could do that scares the bejeevers out of you, but in the long run or in the short run can make you happy? Because if you're not happy, then all it is just to make something different. Just do something different. And as long as it scares you, then you know it'll be a change that's going to make you happy. And that's what I took out from my situation. So all the best to the changes that you make, and thank you for watching. Take care.